All right, we got Mark Nichols here sitting in my dining room in my house. This is John Smith, 5th Congressional District Chair. I asked Mark to come on camera because I've known Mark for a little bit now. I've become friends with Mark. I believe he's one of the most conservative township supervisors we have in Hillsdale County. And I've known Mark to honor the Hillsdale County Republican Party principal platform of what it is to be a Republican in the party. Mark is a due-paying member. He's been a member for quite some time, and he's being recalled in Adams Township. And the reason why he's being recalled, in my opinion, is not because he's actually done anything bad as a township supervisor, but it's actually because he's involved in politics, if you will. I think this has become a situation where his friendships and his principles are under attack at this point. And I'm going through this list of a few reasons to recall Mark Nichols. Now, this is the opposition that wants to recall Mark Nichols. On November 2nd, 2021, Mark was against the school election. He had people, well, there's a lot of errors, so bear with me when I read this. Had people with signs to vote no against the school sitting at Township Hall. He also stated in Hillsdale Daily News on that date that our township clerk, Stephanie, was the only one in the hot seat. So it's hard to read, but they're implying that Mark had people up at Township Hall with signs that say no to the school millage. Is that true, Mark?
There were people there. I didn't ask them to come. They have a right, if they stay 100 foot from the township door or further, to exercise their First Amendment rights, freedom of speech.
So this is their first reason for Mark to be recalled. Not because of his job, because they're claiming that he had people up there with the vote no sign that have a First Amendment right to be up there in the first place. But Mark didn't have people go up there with those signs. They did that on their own.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two. Why did Mark quit his first term as township supervisor? A quote from Mark: "If you are pushing your wishes and desires for your benefit of your fellow township residents, you are simply confiscating their rights, plain and simple." Did you quit your first term?
I did not quit it. I have never quit while I was supervisor.
So why would they put that in, you think, Mark?
Well, I don't think they know what they're talking about. It's obvious they didn't check the record, or they would have known.
So again, reasons to be recalled. So this would be a reason to be recalled because you quit your first term,
Right.
20 years ago.
Right.
So reason 3 to recall Mark Nichols. Thousands of dollars were spent when Mark recalled the former board member. And for the audience, Mark actually recalled the late former township supervisor. And that's what they're saying. They're saying his recall cost thousands of dollars, and that's the reason why he should be recalled today.
Well,
Which makes no sense because these people are recalling him. So should we just do this endless cycle? Well, they should be recalled because they're recalling Mark.
Right. Well, actually, it wasn't just me. I did pull the recall, that's true. But there were 5 of us that ran,
including the guy
board,
including Randy Johnson, that is issuing this recall right now, right?
Well, he didn't issue the recall, but he did sign the paperwork to bring it to.
And he's running for your township supervisor.
And he's running for my position, so he already has a vote.
So this is kind of asinine. So they're saying that a reason for you to be recalled is because it costs thousands of dollars to recall Fred Fowler, the former township supervisor. So I'm assuming that if this was to go through, you could recall Randy Johnson. Number 4, Nathan Lane of Thompson Reuters, which I know who he is, filed a Freedom of Information Act request. Mark ignored this request for information that should be provided to the public. What is he hiding from the people in this township? What did you hide, Mark?
Right. Again, that's Reuters FOIA. We did respond to it through the attorney. There's record that we responded. And I might add as a note that we sent things email, and we followed up with mailing, hard copy, and the address that Mr. Lane gave me bounced back to me. So it is not true that we've ignored.
So that's a blatant lie. So he's being recalled for a blatant lie. Number 5, without Mark's help, how would men from other townships know where paper ballots and records are stored? Where they were encouraged to come to our township meeting and state their beliefs. So you're being recalled. They're saying you're being recalled because they're implying or they're making an accusation that you told other people where your paper ballots and records are being stored. And why would that matter? Even if you did.
On the flip side of that, since the county has taken over our elections, during the time that Abe Dane was facilitating one of our elections, he went down and took our 2020 ballots, took them out of our possession.
Which I've never heard of anything like this. So the county came in and went down in the basement, took old ballots, 2020 ballots, the ones that are actually in question,
Correct.
if you will, not just for Adams Township, but through the state of Michigan and other several states, but came in and took these ballots with a chain of custody issue and took it to the county and stored it at the county. Is that correct?
Right.
So is that, by people knowing that, is that a reason for you to be recalled?
That'll be up to the people to decide.
And I don't think that was with your help. I mean, Stephanie told me this. Abe said this. I don't know. I guess I don't understand why that would be a reason for you to be recalled.
Right.
On November 2nd, 2021, Stephanie, Mark, and John Smith intimidated our election workers when they were trying to close the polls. There are pictures to prove this. All right, so Stephanie, sitting in her office, is trying to intimidate poll workers. She sat in her office the whole time. I was there.
If you recall that, I think I do recall.
Mark, I recall
there was
you.
A handful of people.
I recall you being in your office, and you might have walked into the main room, but this is an area that is open to the public.
Correct.
For viewing, for public viewing.
Abe Dane was running that election, and they could have ordered us back at a
certain distance
that they wanted or whatever.
And be honest with you, we were. I mean, and it's not just us three. I mean, Stephanie wasn't even in the room. And I don't recall if you were or weren't, but Chad French was there.
Correct.
Jonathan Lindsay was there, and Lance Lashaway was there. Penny Swan was there, and we were there observing, and we asked a few questions of Abe. I don't know if that's intimidating. I mean, these people are either appointed or elected, and if just being there to observe it is intimidating, then we're guilty.
Right.
But if that's, I personally, I have grown accustomed to this, to where when I see politicians, they're already intimidated. Mm-hmm. So it's just normal for me now.
And I don't think Abe was overly intimidated. And if there was a problem,
we had a good relationship with Abe at that time. And
he could have called the law. He could have ordered us back. That wasn't done. So
yeah,
they're making much ado about nothing.
But even regardless, you're being recalled because they're saying that Stephanie, myself, well, they're saying that you intimidate election workers. And I think that's actually a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, actually.
And there's no evidence to prove that either. So next line down, why you're being recalled. This is why you're being recalled. John Smith, Secretary of the County Republican Party, which is Hillsdale County Republican Party, attends our township meetings and apparently feels he has authority over our citizens. He shouted, "You effing bitches, get out of their own township hall. People should check his felonious background." So you're being recalled because I got in a heated argument with 3 of the women there. You're being recalled for that.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Guilty by association.
Maybe.
But, you can't, if a person has changed their ways, they're accusing you of criminal activity in the past.
You don't
if
have
a person has changed their ways,
you don't have
you never have to be friends with them.
You don't have to defend me. The fact of the matter is you're being recalled, which cost this township thousands of dollars because of something that I did.
Right.
Okay, next. Mark also tried to push his written resolution to fly the United States of America flag upside down in our township. It seems the sacrifice of our beloved veterans have made for our freedom are no of importance to Mark, as his own goals of authority over the citizens are what motivates him. You put in a resolution to fly the flag upside down because the state of the nation is in distress.
Right.
Right? And that's a reason to be recalled.
I got inspired one Saturday to write this, and I didn't push it. I presented it to the board.
Just
board
like you
voted
would
it
any other
down.
resolution.
Correct. The board voted it down, and that is what it was.
And they left it at that.
That's right.
So you're being recalled because you asked the resolution to be pushed. You didn't push it.
No, right.
You presented a resolution,
Yep.
and you're being recalled because you presented a resolution.
And they obviously haven't read it, or they aren't capable of understanding the written word, because they're saying I don't give two hoots about our fallen soldiers. And if anybody reads the resolution, which I put in the handout so people could read the resolution, it is to
Again,
stand for our soldiers.
These are reasons to recall you.
Exactly.
Mark and Stephanie both seceded in denying the township the $200,000 that was being offered post-COVID with no repayment necessary. By not being open and honest with the township, they managed to hide the truth of this and again screw the township. The funds could have been passed on to the school, which neither Mark nor Stephanie have any interest in supporting. Those kids can go to Jonesville or Pittsford. Those kids are your children and grandchildren and are of no value to Mark and Stephanie. Well, they put those kids can go to Jonesville and Pittsford in quotations, but they don't say who said that.
Correct.
So this is actually the word game that politics play. You could put that in quotations and then just put someone's name below it, and you could say, well, they're not the ones saying it. We're just saying it's a quote. Right. There's a lot of word games that get played around in politics. This is actually one of them. But $200,000, we're talking about the ARPA fund, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm saying that
That's
correctly.
correct.
In like Wheatland Township, right next door to you, didn't take it. This is actually federal COVID money. That money that we don't have.
It's funneled through the state.
That's funneled through this. It's national funneled. It's national. It's federal fund. Mm-hmm. That's funneled through the state, which we have done nonstop, if you will. That's why we're so far in debt,
right.
Trillions of dollars in debt, and you guys don't need that money, so you decide not to even put it on the agenda, right? Is that your opinion?
In the very beginning, that is a little bit of a long story with the ARPA funds. In the very beginning, the rules and regulations, we didn't qualify. And then they kept loosening the rules. And they were calling. I was in the office one time when they called trying to encourage us to take it. I smell a trap there. When you have to sign paperwork that says you agree to follow all applicable executive orders and other things like that, I don't want any part of it. Okay, I don't want to.
You don't want to be under the rule. You don't want to be under the thumb of the federal government, is what
That's
you're saying?
Correct. That's
yeah.
Correct.
So,
and as far as us being able to give it to the school, if that was possible, I had no knowledge. But again, we had to agree to certain things that I did not want to agree to. And
it's not, Mark. Regardless, it's not free money.
It's not free money.
It's coming off the backs of our grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Yep.
Is that fair to say?
That,
we don't have
exactly
that money. We cannot afford to keep doing this.
That's correct.
As a township supervisor, you have 5 board members. You're one of 5.
One of 5,
right?
That's right.
You did not put it on the agenda because you're conservative, you're a Republican, you believe in less taxation, less subsidies. That's 2 of the principles. Individual responsibility and limited government. These are things that Republicans and conservatives believe in.
It was mentioned in meetings, and if the rest of the board members don't pay attention, there's 3 other board members. 2 of us are being recalled. 3 board members would have outvoted us.
So those 3 board members could have presented this and voted it in.
But I'll definitely go on record as being against that type of funding. I'm not against all grants. Grants vary. But when they come with strings attached that you're giving up your sovereign rights, I'm not interested.
We got one last one.
Mm-hmm.
Mark alleged the voting machines have been a tool to steal our elections. Has Mark really been elected, or did the machine make a mistake? Now, this is tongue-in-cheek because we have election integrity problems in Michigan. And
nationwide, worldwide.
And you and Stephanie ran unopposed.
That's correct.
So
they're mocking us, and I answer them in my letter to the township. I know how I voted, okay? So Stephanie and I are running unopposed. I voted for myself. I voted for Stephanie. I think we won. Again, the reason for recalling me was for voting no on a tabulator. I looked at that issue. We already own a tabulator. The county came in and took much of our election equipment. They didn't get the tabulator because our clerk was holding it securely, which she has been criticized for and demonized for wrongfully. But then the state police got a warrant and took the tabulator. So our tabulator is setting in a
A
state
tabulator
police
that
lab,
Adams Township purchased.
owns, that we are supposed to be in control of, and with no charges given to Stephanie. Our clerk has never been charged with anything. She has simply been stripped of her constitutional duties. Our county clerk has been complicit in this. Show me a law where they have the right to do this. They've never, ever.
Stephanie is supposed to
brought
hold
this
on to the
us.
equipment for 22 months, and they were trying to take that equipment.
The
and
federal election results she's supposed to hold on to.
yeah,
Right,
so
right.
she's trying to hold on to it for 22 months. They came in and stripped. Not only did they take the equipment, but they stripped her of all her duties.
Right.
Which is something that I've never heard of before,
Right.
because those people did not put her in office.
Right.
The citizens did.
That's correct.
So the only people that could strip her of her duties, in theory, are the citizens.
Right. And I'm standing behind the clerk, whereas the other 3 board members really are not.
So I just went off all the reasons why you're being recalled on their list. And not one of them is because of your lack of your duty of your job. In fact, at your job, how many days have you missed? How many meetings, how many
I
days?
can't remember if perhaps since 18 I missed 1 meeting per chance. I do not. I'm there. I'm there most of the time. Okay.
Are you would you say you're more active than the rest of the board members, or are you?
You know, the supervisor plays a pretty big role, but the clerk and the treasurer do as well.
Right.
I always look at those 2 and say they probably have more responsibility
They do.
than the supervisor. But they are the 3 major board members. But a trustee needs to look at the business of the township and not just rubber stamp everything we do. You know, they need to stand by the Constitution, and then whatever the Constitution doesn't cover, or the state Constitution doesn't cover, or the laws don't cover, then we'd be free to look at representing our township. But we're not a democracy. We're a nation of laws. We're a republic, and if a person doesn't understand that pecking order, we just can't do anything that we want to do in this position.
Well, and that's the challenge that we're running into in America today is democracy's being forced down our throat,
It
literally. And if you don't know history, if you don't know civics, then you're just going to go along with that because that's what the mob wants.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Johnson stood right in front of me after a meeting one time and said, "The people put me in, the Constitution didn't." So what was he saying? We have to follow the Constitution. That's the oath we take.
Yeah.
As I just said, aside from that, aside from the laws of the state, yes, we can look to what the people might
So what he
want.
was implying is that whatever the mob wanted.
That's how I took it. Absolutely.
Right. So if the mob wanted to hang your brother, then I guess we got to hang your brother, right? Mark, is there anything you want to say to Adams Township? Because I know you, I know your heart of hearts. I know that you are genuinely concerned and caring. You call me, you come over, you tell me some of your hardships. What would you like to say to Adams Township?
My biggest problem with people in general, the citizens of this nation, and it comes right down to nearly every community, is that the people don't pay attention. They don't know what's going on. They really don't. They might think they do, but they don't. They don't come to meetings. They just really don't have a clue, and that's very, very, very sad. And how can you cast an educated vote when you don't know what's happening?
And citizens will take that potentially as an insult.
They may do that, but you need to get put on the big boy pants and the big girl pants and say, have I really done what I ought to do?
Have you gone to a township meeting? Do you even know who your township supervisor is?
Right.
Do you know who the trustees are? Do you know what is a millage? What is ARPA funds? What is federal COVID money? What is any of this stuff? It becomes of a personality thing,
you can't
if you
vote
will.
for somebody just because they're your friend or because they're nice. You need to know what they stand for. You need to know what they do in office. And you need to know what they should be doing in office.
I would assume that Adams Township is greater than 60% Republican.
I would say so. Yeah,
You and Stephanie,
upwards of 80.
you and Stephanie will be the only two on that list as Republicans. You are endorsed by the Hillsdale County Republican Party, and you have a ton of endorsements from some of the most conservative people in the state of Michigan.
Right.
So there's no doubt in my mind that you should be reelected and move through this recall. And same goes for Stephanie. And that's really about it, Mark.
Yeah, I would just say again to the people of Adams Township, I've done all I can to try to tell you about the situation. I mean to get it to you. If you see this video and you have not seen the letter, please leave me a message. A text is great at 517-610-3752. That's 610-3752. And I want you to have this letter. I want you to know what's going on. And if you're going to come vote, and I want you to come vote, but you should understand the situation and cast an educated vote, an intelligent vote, one that's the right vote.
Thank you, Mark. Good luck.